Hey everybody, and welcome back to another CASA talk. Where this time I'm excited to sort of I think I have the world's first announcement of vConic. Thomas, CTO of Vconic, just announced, released, carved out. Welcome on the show, and tell me what's the story with vConic.
So, Rob, really pleased to be here. And yes, I'm really pleased to be the first time I'm coming out as a CTO of Vconic here with you. Vconic is the new spinoff from Strolid that is taking the vCon technology that we've developed and spinning it off into a new company. And we're being joined by two monsters of technology, the father of modern messaging and the co-founder of MapQuest to bring vCon into the commercial world. So we're really excited for the opportunity. I'm so happy to be the CTO.
Wow, congratulations! This
Thank
is
you.
good stuff. So remind us, what is a vCon?
vCon is a new file format, like a JPEG, but it contains a conversation. And so it's just like any other file, but the reason we need a file for conversations is that so that we can analyze them for AI, and so we can ensure their compliance by knowing what's inside of them. So it's nothing more than a file, but inside the file is a conversation.
Okay, so if it sounds so simple and it seems to make so much sense, right? Because this is the way that you can get voice into the world of AI. I was
Correct.
talking to somebody the other day, where so if you look at the success of messaging the last years, is that it's easy to capture, right? You have it there. It's clear what it's written and it's stored and it's you can print it and it's right there. And voice never had that. It was like, okay, there's a 30-minute conversation, and if you're lucky, you can search a little bit or you can scroll through. And now, of course, we have AI, so you can summarize it. So
Mhm.
why hasn't this been invented before? It seems so logical.
Well, there's two big reasons. Well, the first is there's never been such a need before. So the vCon as a file has two basic purposes. The first we've talked about, which is to capture conversations so we can analyze them. But the other side is for compliance. If you don't know what's in the conversation, you can't protect people's data rights. You can't know what you have consent to do. So the two things at once are really important. And so that's the first part. We're in the world of AI, so it's important, and that's why we haven't done it till now. But the second part is, I think there's always been a taboo around recording because of surveillance, and that's always been a really big problem. But the cat's out of that bag. We've entered a world where we're being surveilled left, right, and center. I'm not sure how many calls you've been on where the robots have been on that call too. It just makes too much sense for us. So the fact is that we no longer are able to hide, and so we have to face it up front and say, how do we actually deal with the recordings that are happening anyways?
Yeah, I got it. That makes sense. So and just so I get it right, so the VCon, we talk about voice conversation, but really it's any sort of conversation, right? It can be
Yeah,
video, it can also be the messaging, because it goes to that part where it's stored and it's sort of signed off, and then there's all this consent layer that you sort of put on top of that, right?
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, the beacon itself, enables that consent management. It enables that ability to take that same conversation and put it in different places, no matter how it happened. And the root is GDPR. So the GDPR says that as a data subject, you have the right to know what data that they have about you, ask for its correction and its deletion. And there's nothing more sensitive to you than things like your medical records or your DNA or what you look like and how you sound, because you can be deep faked. So it allows us to be compliant to GDPR in the age of AI. So
Yeah.
that's really foundational to the work that we do, and I think it's what's motivated so many people in the vCon community, because it's becoming a really nice big community, because it's good purpose work. It's really important to do for people. So that's
Yeah.
a big part of this.
Cool. And I love, so I think it started at a car dealership company, right? And I've
Yeah,
heard
it
I've,
did. It did.
I've heard this thing called Papa in a box.
Yeah,
So
yeah, right. Yeah, that's how it started. Yeah. So my background is I've worked in standards for a long time. I was part of the DSL and VoIP efforts early on, and when I started my new job at a car company, we started listening to customer conversations, and it was really apparent to me the holes that were in the technology world. And so we took the vCon to what's called the IETF, which people might not know about, but they know about our protocols. So the IETF is responsible for SIP and RTP, and they're also responsible for OAuth and the web and email and domain names. And so the vCons are part of that internet standard protocol that we're all going to use. So even though it started at a car company, it really has hit the global technology market. And so it's going to be the next, I think lots of people think it's the next wave of telecom technology, just like SIP trunks.
Awesome. I love how it started with a real customer
Yeah.
requirement, right? It's not just a
Right.
standard just for standard's sake. It's
It
really
was-
there was a gap there. There was something that needed to be fixed. I love that. You talk about the ecosystem, and next week you'll be in Amsterdam at our
Mhm.
CASA25 event, and we
Yes.
have a better part of the Monday afternoon where we talk about how vCons contribute to the world of, well, both compliance and AI.
Mhm.
Um, so tell me why, and the vCon Foundation is a silver sponsor at the event because we're working together to
That's
get
right.
it out, right? So
That's right.
so how do you look at this thing and what's going on right now around vCons?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm coming representing the vCon Foundation, which is just a trade organization, a community of people and other companies and that are really interested in vCons as a method of protecting people. And so what we're doing here at the talk next week is returning to Amsterdam, returning to such a great show. We had a wonderful time last year, to meet with the people who are really trying to understand how telcos and CPASs are to play in the next set of technologies and what is their role. And we really believe that vCons is the foundation of it. If you were to think of SIP and signaling and all the unified communications work that we've done, that's one half of the market. And that half of the market is around talking and what we're doing now. But the other half of the market is the data. What's the
Yeah.
data you collect and protect and share as a result of that communications? And so the other side of the coin is vCons. And I'm going to make a bold statement, but I think it's true. I've never actually liked the term unified communications because what does it mean, right? I think sounds like a marketing term. But what vCons have done actually is unified communications just after the fact. You know, it's a file, right? You just make a file of a recording after the conversation is over, or it's a file of an email after you've sent it, or a file of a podcast after you've made it. But after they're all done, they're all in vCons and they're unified. And now you can see customer journey. Now you can see consent. Now you can see things over the entirety of the communications thing. So it's the other half of communications, and I'm there to talk about it and share my ideas with all kinds of people there who have all their own great ideas. I've lots of people already at the show have made really great vCon contributions and leadership. So I'm really happy to reconnect with them.
Yeah, I think it's good. I've seen the program, of course, and I think it's really interesting that we have actual use cases because there
Mhm.
are certain providers that are
Oh yeah.
actually using it in commercial offerings. So we look at those. We have one in the Showcase Challenge as well. And
Great.
also, I'm particularly interested also in that compliance part because
Oh
one
yeah.
of my things is, so we're moving into that agentic AI world, right, in the
Yes.
next months or years, and at some point there's going to be, I will have as a person, I will have agents roaming on the internet doing stuff for me because I've set it up to buy stuff or to book things or to keep track of data to find stuff, and it's so important. It seems to be somewhat overlooked that matter of consent. So how
Mm,
does the world know that this particular agent is representing me, and what is it allowed to do?
yeah.
How much can I charge on my credit card, right?
Yeah.
So that part, that's compliance, consent, and what's happening, and how do we keep control of that is for me also a very important element of this discussion.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'll just point to one real use case. So Apple paid almost $100 million in fines for their irresponsible and inappropriate uh, analyzing of Siri recordings. If they had just paired the consent with the recording, they would have known if they could have done it or not. And in the future, we're going to say, why didn't you just put the consent with the recording so you knew what you could have done? Some of the things about files make things so much easier, and just put the consent with the file so you know who's given the consent. It also allows you to say, well, who can withdraw the consent, right? So this is all kinds of angles to it. So yes, this is a big use case, and I always find it fascinating when I hear things on online about AI use cases and how often they're successful. I'll tell you, the vCon use cases are almost entirely successful all the time because there's all kinds of things that we never saw that are surfaced in conversations. So just
Well,
knowing things you didn't know before changes the game for everybody.
I love that. I'm looking forward, Thomas, to spending a couple days with you next week, learning more about vCons
Yeah.
and just having a good time in Amsterdam. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing this wonderful news with us first, and safe travels.
Thanks, Rob. Can't wait to come.